It could be the political showdown of the year. Chairman Trey Gowdy will begin the questioning of Hillary Clinton on the deadly Benghazi attacks. That's in 2 days. You can be sure that Mrs. Clinton, she's been prepping for the testimony, at the same time running a national campaign. John Bolton, former U.S. ambassador to the UN, senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, Fox News contributor, and a lawyer. How you doing, sir? Good morning to you.
Glad to be with you.
You know, this is kind of sticky, because you get 5 minutes for a Republican and 5 minutes for a Democrat. You get to direct and you get to redirect, and sometimes these guys, they're not real good at following a line of questioning in the first place.
Well, I would never say anything like that about a member of Congress, but the fact is that I don't think anything particularly interesting is going to happen on Thursday. I think for the reasons you state and others, a congressional hearing is a very bad forum to find out difficult facts. You can't pursue a line of questioning. The members themselves take too much time giving their opinion instead of going after the witness.
So you're suggesting there's no big moment.
I would be surprised.
And in reality, it might be a snooze fest.
I think that's exactly right. Remember, only in Perry Mason's stories does the culprit break down and confess in open court. And after the famous, now immortal Clinton line about, at this point, what difference does it make, the chances of her being spontaneous on Thursday are close to absolute zero.
This is what she said on CNN Sunday. Watch here.
I've already testified about Benghazi. I testified to the best of my ability before the Senate and the House. I don't know that I have very much to add. This is, after all, the 8th investigation. But now, Trey Gowdy and the committee has Chris Stevens' emails.
Yeah.
From the moment he'd landed in Libya. Well, certainly that must be new.
Well, I think going through in graphic detail the number of times that Stevens himself asked for increased security helps build the record that the State Department dropped the ball. And I would say the real question here is why Hillary Clinton dropped the ball. You know, her defense since 2012 has been, well, you know, those are details. I have subordinates who handle that. That just shows a failure of leadership on her part. I've worked for six different secretaries of state. Not a one of them was afraid to get their fingernails dirty on difficult matters. They joked that the secretary would have become the Libya desk officer because they were so focused on it. She didn't focus on it, and I think it shows.
So your point is go after the leadership that she either displayed or did not display the night of the attacks.
Yeah, I think it's important when you have something like Libya, which was a centerpiece of the Obama administration foreign policy. This was the big example of leading from behind. Why didn't she get into the nitty-gritty of the deteriorating security situation in Libya? Why wasn't she more concerned about the safety of her personnel? She's the leader of the department. I think she failed in that in the weeks and months before the 9/11 attack, and I think she failed the day of the attack, too. She went home, Bill. She went home. She left the bridge on the 7th floor of the State Department. What signal does that send to State Department people all over the world that the Secretary went home for the evening?
Well, from the Hill, the facts haven't changed. The only thing that has changed is their admissions, the Republicans, that this process has been politicized and they've done enormous damage to themselves. It turns into kangaroo court. They've lost the moral argument. How much of this is about Benghazi security and how much is it about the email, the server, the system at home?
I personally don't think, with respect to Benghazi, the email is that much of the story. Certainly uncovering this whole private system raises a plethora of other issues, but it's not so directly relevant to Benghazi. Mrs. Clinton's answer, for example, that she went home was, well, you know, telephones work, I was in touch. But she was not in a secure environment in her home. At the State Department, you have the most secure communication facilities comparable to the White House and the Defense Department. That's where she should have been. So I think they need to go through, not talking about what military operations were possible that day, but asking her why she only spoke to President Obama once, why she never spoke to Defense Secretary Panetta or Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Dempsey. She had people in Libya under attack. And let's remember, that day in Cairo, the embassy compound was breached, the al-Qaeda flag was raised, the embassy in Tunis was threatened, the embassy in Sana'a in Yemen was threatened. You couldn't tell that evening that this was one attack in one city.
That's very interesting. It's September 11th, too.
Exactly.
Thank you, sir. John Bolton, we'll talk again before Thursday, okay?
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you for coming in today. Very interesting. Martha, what's next?
It is indeed. So meanwhile, Democrats release witness testimony ahead of Thursday's showdown. Some critics are saying that they've already trying to cover up for Secretary Clinton in doing that. We will talk to Congressman Mike Pompeo, a Republican on the Benghazi committee, and get his outlook for all this coming up later. Plus